Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I've grown into the person that I am today. And I was just like looking outside at my patio. If you watched my video, was it yesterday? Where I made, I planted, I planted mint and lavender on my Peter Does Stuff channel, and I've been doing a lot of videos on the front porch and on the back porch. So I think I'm gonna do, I did do a Peterisms video on my front porch the other day. Well, there will be a lot of back porch videos and front porch videos this summer. Did you guys like those? It was so nice just sitting outside and doing those videos. I really liked it. So anyway, happy June. We're here. Summer's here. I can't believe we made it. Happy Pride Month. Let's get into today's videos and see what the meditation world of the universe has to tell us today. It is currently 6:05 p.m. I have to go pick up my good Judy in an hour and 25 minutes so that we can go to our home group tonight and I get to see my friends, and I'm really excited about it. So, all right, let's read from A Year of Positive Thinking first by Cindy Spiegel. Maybe she'll bring us into summer, into June, in a very positive manner, I hope. I'm sure, since it's a year of positive thinking. Okay, June. It's always just one sentence, isn't it, when I pick this book? June 1st. You've never gone too far to turn back. Even if you've traveled miles in one direction, you can always turn around. Interesting meditation, of experience in life, that if you're going and doing something and you're like, this just doesn't feel like what I should be doing in my life, you can always change and do something else, and it's actually a lesson that took me a long time in life to learn. It's interesting because if you know my story and you heard me go on about my life story on my vlog or here over and over and over again, you know that like my undergraduate degree is in English and I minored in film. And my dream at the time when I started was, well, to be honest with you, when I got out of high school, I really had no idea what I wanted to do with my future. I was very scared. I was not a well-equipped 18-year-old graduate from high school. I had just come out, and I really had no clue what I wanted to do with my life. And when I graduated in 1990, I don't remember anybody talking to me about going to a trade school, going to hair school, going to art school. Basically, you could go to school and study art, but it was like you go to college or you get a full-time job. Those were like really the two options that I remember. And I don't remember anybody talking to me about maybe possibly other options. And I really think in looking back over my life, and I've had some amazingly wonderful experiences and, the different things that I've been able to do in my life. And I don't regret getting, a degree in English, and I was the editor-in-chief of the school's literary magazine, and I got so many opportunities as a result of that. I specialized in creative writing because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to write books, and taking literature classes of literature that I would never have, read. I took an entire semester of Toni Morrison that I would never have read had it not been for that. I think maybe I had read, like, The Bluest Eye or Beloved or something, one of those before I took that class, but I was introduced to so many great things by going to college, but the reality is that, in retrospect, I wasn't super academic. I just wasn't. I didn't like school. I didn't feel very smart. I've always believed I had 100 times more common sense than book smarts, I just didn't do well at studying. It took me a long time to learn how to study. I actually didn't really learn until the very end of my undergraduate degree and going into graduate school that I learned by just sitting and listening. So I think that had there been other options that had been proposed to me, like maybe going to hair school or cosmetology school or something, I think that would have been something I would have been very good at, that I would have enjoyed. But that wasn't something that anybody talked to me about it. And what's interesting is that had I come home to my parents and said I want to go to cosmetology school, they would have been 100% supportive of that. I just don't remember having any discussions about that, and I was scared, so what did I do? I signed up for college. And at that time, the school that is in Indianapolis, our city school, which is IUPUI, Indianapolis University, Purdue University at Indianapolis, wasn't very difficult to get into. Today, it is very difficult to get into. But back then, it wasn't. And so I just went and registered for classes, and I started going to classes. I can remember my friend and I took drawing classes. I was horrible at drawing, but I wanted to be an artist. And so I had this huge portfolio I carried in the ice and snow. And she and I, my best friend from, kindergarten, elementary, junior high, high school, college, and we all went through graduate school, all of it together. We drove down there every day together, and I don't regret it. I had a great time, but I think that there were many times during that experience that I thought, well, maybe I want to do this, or maybe I want to do that. Fear also kept me stuck from doing a lot of things in life that I wanted to do. One of the things I always wanted to do was backpack through Europe. I never did that because I was terrified to do it. That's one of, I don't have tons of regrets in my life, but I don't even know if that's necessarily a regret, but I also am somebody that does have regrets. I'm not somebody that says I don't have any regrets. Like, I do have regrets. I think that I've learned to learn from those situations. I've learned experiences and lessons from those situations that I have regrets about, but I do have regrets in my life, and one of them is maybe being a little bit more fearless in my youth and doing some things that I would have really enjoyed. I went to Grand Cayman with my dad and my stepmom and my first boyfriend, and at that point, I had been working in treatment for probably about a year, and I remember on the beach, I was talking to this girl that was like a waitress on the beach at the hotel that we were staying at, and I started talking to her, and she was like, I said, oh, where are you from? And she was from somewhere like New Jersey. And she said, a group of my friends, we island hop, and we go from island to island, and then we get an apartment together, and we all work at different resorts on the island because we want to know what it's really like to live in the Caribbean. I have always been obsessed with the beach. I love the Caribbean. I love the beach. And when she told me that, I was like, sign me up tomorrow. But fear stopped me from doing that. I was like, God, that would have been such a great experience, you know? When I started working in treatment and I got sober, I wanted to be what I had never had, and that was, you know, a different kind of counselor. And so I decided to go and get my master's degree in social work, and I really didn't think that I would get in because my grades were so bad. I mean, they weren't horrible, but I think I graduated with my undergraduate degree of like a 2.3 or a 2.6 or something. And it's interesting because I talked to somebody later that was on the admissions board, and I just was super honest. You know, we had to write this 25-page essay admissions letter, and I talked about my sobriety, and I talked about you know, being gay and coming out and how difficult that was for me. It was just this, it kind of at the time, honestly, it was kind of like a little bit of an inventory. And I remember thinking to myself, this is really all you have. So just be completely honest with everything on here and just throw it in there. And if they like you, they like you. And if they don't, you don't. And I remember later, one of my professors who I ended up loving, he said to me, he goes, do you know that your admission was like a unanimous vote, that everybody wanted you in because they liked your voice, and you didn't even come from a social work background? The majority of people that I went to graduate school with, they all came from a social work background. And if they didn't, then they had worked in social work for a while and were coming back to get their master's degree later in life. And that like meant so much to me, you know, that sometimes just sharing our story is enough. And, you know, that was me completely changing just any kind of idea. I mean, I thought I was going to work in a publishing house. You know, my dad asked me, he goes, what do you plan to do with this degree? I don't know. Work in a publishing house. What publishing house in Indianapolis is there, Peter, you know, I almost said Alex, Peter, that my dad said, you know? And there aren't any, and I was gonna have to move to New York or Chicago, and I was scared to do that. So anyway, when I got sober, it's like everything kind of lined up for me in my life. You know, I got sober, and then I started working in treatment, and I started, you know, volunteering, and then I started working. And like, I can remember getting hired part-time and thinking I really need a full-time job. And within a week, I was working full-time hours as a tech, and then going to get my master's degree. And there have been, I mean, who knew that I would end up one day on YouTube, you know, as what I do every single day. You know, it's crazy to me. But don't ever think that what you're doing in your life, you can't change and go back. You can always say, this isn't what I want to be doing. You know, I have so many friends of mine that have moved far away and come home. And I think that there's this like sense of failure. Like, I moved away and now I'm moving back to Indiana to be close to my friends and family. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with wanting to be close to your family? I've always kind of been a small town guy, and I've never really understood that, you know, why people see that as a failure to have to come home again, you know? I've known so many people that go to college and they're like studying accounting, and they get halfway through and they're like, I don't want to do this. And I'm like, well, what do you want to do? And they're like, I want to be an artist. I want to be a writer. And I'm like, be an artist, be a writer. You only have one life. I know, but I need to have something to fall back on. And then what happens is they end up working in accounting for the next 30 years, you know, unhappy working in accounting, which maybe they wouldn't have had as much money and stability had they not, but who knows where their life would have taken them, you know? And I'm at the point in my life today where if I do something and I'm not enjoying it, I can stop doing it and I go back and do something else, and I realize this isn't for me, you know, and do something that's more fun. And I'm okay with admitting when I'm wrong, you know, and saying, well, I thought that was going to be a perfect plan, but it's not. So, you know, you can at any time that you want, whatever you're doing, say I'm done with this. You start a garden and you don't want to finish it, say I'm done. I'm taking it all out, you know? Hell, I can tell you I've started so many projects I never finished, you know? Since I've been on YouTube, I've done things on this channel. Hell, I was going to read a book every month on this channel. Remember that? A motivational book. I just talked about it yesterday. Never followed up with that. You know, I've had ideas for whole channels I was going to start that I never followed through with. I had this whole idea for a storyteller's channel that I never followed up with, you know? And that's okay. But it's not in the cards for me today. Maybe down the road, it will be. But, you know, I don't beat myself up about that stuff anymore. You know, when you think about a journey in the world, a journey goes like this. You know, a journey isn't a direct path somewhere. You know, and I think most of the life experiences that we have are not a direct path. Allow yourself to go where your journey takes you. Allow yourself to go where the world takes you. You know, when you're sitting there and you're with somebody you haven't talked to in a while and you're having lunch or dinner or coffee or you talk to them and they say something on the phone and it's like, it's like, I was going to say red flags, but not that. But it sparks something in you that you're like, oh, I would like to do that or this or whatever. It's like with the book club for me that I started. I never thought it was going to turn into having 4,000 members on Facebook and my best friend, besides Tanya Mel, you know, I mean, I love her to death, that I would have that as a result, you know, of starting a book club that I started online because I was afraid to walk into a book club at the library or bookstore. How phenomenal is that, you know? So when you hear somebody and they spark interest in you, or you see something, a TV show, or read a book, or just see a commercial on TV and you think, oh God, I'd like to do that, or I'd like to do it. Do it. You have one life, you know? Make the most of it. Be too much. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.